Okay, this is the live. Okay, we good. Playing with the cards you were dealt. I was talking to a friend. Well, instead of family, pretty much family. You know, but we were just talking over situations and stuff, and we were basically still as a big man growing up, you could literally have in life as far as playing cards. People who play spades know what I mean. You could literally have a 10 in your hand. But the problem is if you don't know how to actually play the hand, you don't have a chance of winning, you know. And when it comes to life, there's a lot of people like this. We have issue with family members, we have issues with friends, you know, even in our personal relationships. And like I always say, as far as helping the better, save you. As a man, you can literally have friends you can talk to. You can ultimately do a lot of stuff, but you know, essentially, when everything you know all falls down, shout out to Kanye West. You by yourself, and that's the biggest critique that a lot of people don't understand about a lot of stuff. And there's friends that you can call on for advice. And you know me, I always say this. I put it to the frame of mind to where, okay, so I'm bored again. How about now? I just actually pulled in the work. I know in certain areas around here it messes up. But pretty much when it comes down to it, you can have friends and family members that are there for you. They can, excuse me, work with you through struggling situations. Appreciate that, son Clark. But in the end, you know, you're on your own. You know, if you don't have like-minded people, or if you don't even have just in general somebody who's trying to do better or be better in their life, that it's gonna be a problem for you. You know, when it comes down to it, you know, I got friends. I talk to not on the regular as I should majority, but we have our conversations. You know, it's been in situations where we kind of just kind of kept our distance away from each other due to situations that we probably had with each other. But other than that, we always pretty much came back and started back hollering with each other, because sometimes when it all boils down, iron sharpens iron. And I have some good friends pretty much from high school. You know, far as elementary, I moved around, middle school, moved around a little bit. So I got a couple of friends who I deal with, wheel and deal every once in a while. But majority of the bulk of my friends are all from high school and a little bit after, because of, my environments to where I work at. The situation is funny how, you know, you have friends that you can count on. You have friends that, pretty much, as people call you, day ones, that generally, there for you no matter what, you know, even throughout any situation, you know, that's the funny part about it. I got friends that, even though we might have a situation where we in beef and arguing or something, if something happened, as well as them knowing that if something happened in the family, be right there for each other, especially each other's mom. You know, I wouldn't let nobody touch none of my partner's mom. I wouldn't let nobody go out the way saying anything, crazy. Even far as they brothers and sisters, they like my own. You know, if something happened with them, then it's kind of rolled off as an issue for me as well. You know, and that's what we was talking about. I was telling him about the space because he looks at certain channels in this space, and I told him, I said, well, for one, you need to, come over here, just get a mind frame. So shout out to Gold Professor. I told him, I said, this channel right here has a lot of structure and implements discipline. Told him about the 9 laws of self-government, and just basically it's just a guideline to live for your life, man. You want to do better for yourself and do better for your kids. You know, and we were having a conversation. How you know our significant others were the way they respond to things in the family, and about us doing things around the house, and just in general of us working together in the household with the kids. And I even talked to this about my wife last night. She and this is the crazy part. She didn't actually rebuttal it that I was lying. She just came with I won't even say excuse. She just came with the notion that women get overwhelmed sometimes. So men sometimes don't know the situations in which women have to face. And like I told her, that's true. I said, but you don't think men get overwhelmed and that go through situations as well? I said, but in the end, she explained to me there's a situation that happened. You know, typically she don't talk to me as much and about certain things, but when she do, she said she found a little relief. I said, now in my case, I'll talk to my homeboys or something, but if it's something that kind of bothers me or get me to a certain degree, I'll just keep it to myself and and work it out. And she explained why you don't come to me and talk to me. I said, well, it's a situation that you can't help. You know, even let's say a money situation, I can come to you and tell you that I need this type of money, but I know your finance. You don't have it. You're not doing anything extra on the side. So how can you more contribute to this? So it's a situation that I have to, look into myself and say, well, I can work more hours. I can go pick up another little side job or do some things in order to make the money. And she said, okay. And I was like, what if it's a situation where I'm not feeling good and, you know, just things are happening in my life with my friends. Things are happening in life at work to where, I might get fired or a situation. I would have to lock down, make an assessment, figure out, do I want to go ahead and stay knowing that they're going to fire me? Or do I want to still deal with a friend knowing that that relationship is going, sideways? Or just, like I've always done. We keep our distance from each other for a while, then we come back and talk, and we just pretty much squash the beef or whatever was going on. Don't even talk about it, you know. But the main thing I told him when it came down to it was, you know, a lack of males wanting to work with each other. That's like the biggest thing. It's a lack of males wanting to have the conversation about, looking out for one another, working with one another, getting each other to a mind frame to where we can trust each other, you know. And there's situations like I told them, you would have to actually go into yourself and, actually see what type of friends you have. Will Smith said it best, out of the five of his closest friends, he's almost like the least important to the point where those guys are doing things bigger than him. But when it comes down to it, he's in the mind frame of, finding someone that's gonna work with him and, help him out and go through the struggles with him. See, and a lot of guys are not willing to make certain sacrifices, far as when you have friends and they tell you don't do something. You know, there's been times I talked to my friends and there was some that I told them don't do. They didn't like what I said, but eventually when it came true, you know, it was almost like I was a smart ass, but at the same time, if you would have listened to me, we wouldn't have had this problem. And there's times that, pretty much same thing with me. They told me something and the situation occurred where I knew I could have did what they said, but I just looked at it in a different light to where like this is kind of troubling to me. You know, I'm putting myself in a situation where I don't have to. I understand what you're saying as far as the situation of us, working together, but it's crazy. But all in all, when it come down to it, like I said, men gotta have that bond to where we can talk with each other, trust each other, you know, and we both talked about some personal things as far as family, and when it comes down to it, like I basically explained to him in my situation, I grew up in my grandmother's house, you know, there was no man there. My grandma and granddad broke up, and the man wasn't in the house, but to a certain degree, she always had me around men because there was one thing that it was funny that my great grandmother, she was in the house too because she was elderly, and she would always say, "Boys will be boys, and men need to raise men." You know, BGS talked about her, I guess, domesticating me. I forgot what he said, as far as her teaching me how to cook and everything. Because she was saying that pretty much all the boys and all the men, we know how to cook. So, she said, and I think I get it now why he said it, but basically, because if you find a girl that can't cook, it's your choice to stay with her or not. And but the whole thing she explained too, if you don't find a woman who's gonna cook, you still gonna need some proper nutrition. You can't eat out every night. That food is horrible. You know, you're not gonna get the proper nutrition from it. So go ahead and just get your stuff together. Learn how to cook. As men, you learn how to use your hands. It's not necessarily saying that you have to change a tire, but the point is knowing how to change a tire is the key. You know, and the older generation, everybody always say that they failed us. A lot of the lack of knowledge in which we talked about yesterday was not passed down. That's the biggest thing that I get from most of the elders, that they knew things, but they only gave us certain key things. It's almost like they were trying to baby step us, give us certain things at a time to listen to, learn, and take advantage of. Because I'm not gonna say that they felt us in most cases, because far as few things that I've talked with a lot of elders and older women and men, they basically had me in the mind frame of looking real good, seeing certain things that are implemented in my life that helps me. So to me, they helped me out a lot. But in most cases with people, it's the vice versa. They only made it like we talked about this. The craziness is a lot of men and women just made sure that their kids graduated from high school and that was it. They made sure they had good grades because they wanted them to do something better for their life. That's always, as a good parent, you always want your child to be better than you. I tell my sons that all the time. You know, if I drive a truck, I want you to own a trucking company. You know, if I'm a nurse, I want you to be a doctor. You know, if I provide something for you to, pass on to your kids, I want you to do something for the next two generations, you know. And I put a lot of pressure on them about certain things, because, that's why I push the life insurance. I'm trying to build some generational wealth with mine, and I also have some life insurance for them. So not only am I trying to, help them in the process if I die, I'm also trying to help them in the process when they have a family, and I'm telling them, certain key things. See, this is, how men do. We take care of the family. Like my oldest son, we talked and he was saying that, I never really told him. I'm sorry, I'm actually not even clicking on the names of the channel, but yeah, I never told my son to actually, just generally, be a man, step up to the plate and do certain things. He seen my actions. And that's what we're talking about with our kids. He was saying that he put his kids, to a point to where they can, do certain things around the house for chores wise and show them that type of structure to where if you don't do what you're supposed to do, then there's, actions to be taken, discipline, you know. You don't clean up and do what you're supposed to, you can't get on the game. You don't clean up and do what you're supposed to, you can't go outside. You know, there's consequences behind your actions. And a lot of kids are losing that as far as, growing up without those male role models pushing them that way. Not saying that the women don't do it, but you got a lot of structure that's being lost in the family. Because even, I talked to this guy basically from Switzerland, and he was saying that, it takes two to run a household. And, the things that are going on, and, as far as you taking care of the house, a man could do it by himself. But the way America is structured to where you need so much and want so much that it's best to have two to make it work. You know, like you can buy a house with one income, but it's kind of generally better to buy it with two. Not saying that you're going to get the biggest and better house, but it just look good on paper. You know, it won't look like you're struggling. You know, and a lot of the people, it's not, get to the and this space is crazy because as men, if you want a legacy, having kids, because that's gonna be a lineage, that's gonna be the next generation that you can kind of, look at for, support when you get older or not. You can look at, the fruits of your labor, as far as your kids growing up and being productive in life. And it shows like, okay, well, I've done something, they've done something to that degree. And, you know, like going back to the title, just playing with the cards you were dealt with, far as, you know, you don't get a lot in life that, some people don't have a lot that they can work with. I was never taught a lot about finance. You know, I was shown how to pay bills. I was shown how to work, even shown how to, be an entrepreneur and provide for yourself. Majority of the people in my family either had a business at one point, you know, in their life. And looking at one of my uncles, just the situation that is in as far as his mindset, it was no excuse for me. This guy owned a cleaning service, you know, and he wasn't the brightest, not trying to down my uncle, but you know, he was pretty decent with the books. But the point of it was he learned from his mom how to clean so well. Like majority of his jobs, he did janitor. He was a janitor, and it got to the point where when he actually started his own business, just cleaning for people, because he would always clean so good to the point where he just cleaned for people. And you're like, well, I could do it for myself and still have a job, you know. And my uncle, like I said, he showed me far as business wise, you know, you don't have to be a scholar to own your own business. All you have to do is just have that mindset. You know, he still worked at his regular 9 to 5, and then when he got off his pretty much part time was having his own company working for himself. And a lot of people, just kind of push you into that mind frame of, just being a 9 to 5er. You know, I always steady try to have me side hustle jobs. So, whether I'm working for myself, doing contract for somebody else, to the point where I'm trying to keep the money flowing because, like I tell my wife, in some cases, like I wasn't born with a silver spoon, you know, and neither was she. But the point of it is, I want to give a silver spoon to my kids, and just saying that the least, I try to do that, you know, at all turns. My son, he wants to own a Tesla dealership. Ever since he was young, and I showed him about cars, he's very much into cars. He wanted a Tesla dealership, and I've told him, hard work, dedication. You know, he's kind of rough on his math, but he loves reading because I told him you're gonna have to be able to read those contracts. And now he's doing bad at math. I told him you can't own that dealership if you don't know how to add and subtract and divide right. I said because if they shoot you 50 cars at $100 a pop, and you don't know how to add and multiply that quick, or just in general doing it on paper, I say it's one thing to use a calculator, but a calculator now might not always be at your disposal. You might not be able to use the calculator on your phone because it's something that needs to be on a quick deal right then and there on site. You got to add and subtract just basic math, just in general. Two plus two is four. Real quick, let it go. Reading the contracts, making sure they're not putting nothing in the contract that's going to, hinder you. That if you don't sell so many cars that they give you, then it's going to be penalties or something. People sneak stuff in contracts because majority of the time we don't read the contracts, even when we use our phones. There's a lot of stuff telling you in these apps that they're looking at what we do. We don't read them. Sometimes I just go back and look at the terms of agreement, and I'm like, wow, you know, like it sounds like a whole bunch of gibberish, but then when you break it down after looking so long or looking through them and going back into them, you see that, man, they trying to get over on me, you know, and that's like the biggest thing, learning things as you go on the fly. Because when it come down to it, it's funny that a lot of people, if you don't have that mindset that you're trying to better yourself, people are going to try to see that as an advantage to get over on you. And that'd be the key thing that I be trying to tell folks when it come down to certain situations. We don't have everything at our disposal, far as money, far as education to the degree. Some people can go to school and study real hard and become doctors. Some people can't because of the mindset. You know, some people just don't like studying. Some people, have like horrible study habits. Some people, as they say, are bad test takers only because putting in the work. And when it comes down to it, like I said, it's crazy how we'll sit here and look at someone else to shame them of what they're doing in life, but our situation is not that far from them. They're just in a different realm, you know. And like I said, as far as with my uncle, man, like as far as I have two uncles. The other uncle, man, this guy had a lot of stuff going for himself. He let himself go far as, being a family man and doing certain things that he was supposed to do on the premise of, just the mindset. It's crazy. But my other uncle who had that business, you know, he would always, try to talk to us and do little stuff, but it was to the end of where, like, I couldn't see certain things that they were trying to teach me. Not saying that I was better than them, but it was to the point where I kind of outgrow the lessons that they were trying to teach me. One of my uncles, he was basically always trying to check me as being, still this young kid. Even to the day my grandmother passed and we paid for a funeral, he was still looking at me as the young kid. I'm like, dude, this is my grandmother. This is your mother. You should be doing everything within your means to have this funeral done more than me. And that posed a real issue for me But in the end, that was the way. That's like the cards he was dealt. Instead of him trying to do more to be better in life, he was still just trying to get by. And I keep telling him and other people that same scenario. It only gonna go for so long. Trying to get by, trying to you know just do little stuff to where you can just be in the mix. You know, I tell my son that don't do that all the time. Don't be in here to where I tell you to clean the room. You push everything up under the bed and everything in sight I see looks good, but then the clothes not folded up in the dresser, the shoes and everything just thrown in the closet, your junk is pushed up under the bed. Stop trying to get by. Do it right the first time. Me and my wife, my cousin, we talked about. I'm about to get ready to jump off because I know Go Festival to come on in a minute. But it's funny, man. My cousin, we was talking, him and his wife, and they were talking about cleaning stuff. And I think she cleaned something, and he bust out laughing. And he was saying it wasn't clean, and she was, oh yes, it's clean. There's some good cleaning. It's some deep cleaning. That's always her thing that she talks about deep cleaning. And I know if she hear this, she gonna be probably like, oh, don't be talking about me. So, but it's funny though, man. She talking about deep cleaning. My wife, she do that every once in a while. Talking about, yeah, I clean this and I clean. I like clean what? You ain't clean nothing. She might. I vacuum the floor. Vacuum what floor? Did you move the chair? No. Did, did you move this? Did you do that? No. Well, you didn't vacuum the floor. You just, I told you, you just cleaned the round stuff. You know, to vacuum the floor, you got to, move stuff. Get stuff moving stuff around. And as far as her doing deep cleaning, I think she cleaned off the stove or something. And I think it was it that time when she didn't clean the knobs. I forgot what it was, but it was something that she did, and she didn't remove like the knobs and all. I mean, she was yelling deep clean, and I'm like, I told my wife, I was like, when I clean off the stove, now I wipe it down, but if I clean it, I take the knobs off. I clean the back of the, not far as the back of the stove, but the top of the stove where the dials at, well, as far as like the, the very top back there's the LED for the time and the temperature, and that's why our oven gauges are at there. Then, far as you get down to the plate, the eyes, because I have a gas stove, I clean up under there, take all the plates off, take the little plates that's covering the gas plates. I pull all those off, drop them in water, soak them, then clean all inside of that plate. Take the knobs off, clean off the front where the knobs at, push the knobs back on after they dry out and the plates dried and everything. Then turn around, clean the outside of the stove, go in the oven, set the little cleaner for the oven, and everything don't get done. I'll still go in there, take the racks out, clean off the racks, clean off the bottom, the walls, the back walls, all that with inside. Then I go to the bottom where the little pans go at, clean that as well. And then if I really want to go overboard, I take the whole stove and move it out and sweep up under there because over time you got stuff that rolls up under there, food drops. Like I say, dry goods. You making pasta, you might have like two or three pastas shake and hit the floor, just roll up under there. The stuff you can't get to right then and there, you just say you'll do it later most of the time. But stuff like that, that's actually getting into a deep clean. That's just on the stove. Going in the bathrooms, going in the rooms. I cleaned up my kids' room one day. It took me 8 hours to clean both of their rooms because I just got tired of it looking so, junk. Because like I say, they'll hide stuff, move stuff around. And I just go in there, I took the whole room, cleaned it all the way up by myself. Only thing I would tell them to do little stuff is throw trash bags away and vacuum the floor, and that's it. Other than that, did everything else. But yeah, like I say, man, just dealing with the cards you was dealt, that's the key. You got to make sense of your life. A lot of people not making sense of their life. It's not. your fault your dad wasn't there. It's not your fault that your mom wasn't there and she didn't teach you. You know, it's not your fault. It's their fault. But to the sense to where they were the ones that was raising you, you got to look at it this issue. You got to do better for yourself. You know, there's no excuse. The internet is out here. There's men that don't know how to change tires. There's men don't even know the difference between a Phillip head and a flathead. That's what the internet's for. You have a computer in your pocket now. So a lot of times when I learn how to do stuff is on the fly. Like I said, I changed my Cadillac converter on my pickup truck by looking on YouTube. Like, there's no excuse right now. You know, when it comes to a lot of stuff, I don't see why you can't do it. And if you can't, you know, there's always the point of paying somebody. Yeah, that was my air brakes on my truck. All that beeping us had to let the air build up. But yeah, I think I'm about to go ahead and jump off because I just got to work, load up my truck, start my day. But like I say, you know, we gotta play with the cards you're dealt. So to the extreme to where you have no other options of taking care of things. Hey, you know what I'm saying? That's how I go, Clark. You know, it's certain things that you can do yourself to where you can save money. You know, and a lot of people don't understand that. But you know, Gold Professor about to get ready to jump on. So you know, shameless plug for Gold Professor for people who don't know. I'm about to go over there, troll Gold Professor this morning, mess with him, and like I say, you know, that mindset. You got to be able to do it on your own sometimes. You're not going to have help. You're not going to have people there that's willing to work with you and help with you. You got to do it. You know, there's no other way. So I'm going to sign off right here. And like always, I always tell people, we gone.